Kimberly Lawson recently tried to set up a phone for a North Side house. Not in a new neighborhood, not on the outskirts of town, but still Lawson was told by a man at the phone company it could be a month because of the waiting list.
And I said, well, how many people are on the list? Well, we don't know that. Well, who knows that? And he said, well, I'm not sure who knows that, but it's in a database somewhere.
George Favela from U.S. West says trouble isn't limited to small towns or suburbs.
There are more established neighborhoods where, because you're asking for multiple telephone lines now, places that have pretty well been set now need to be reinforced with more facilities.
Meanwhile, Lawson wanted to know what her best option was. She was told,
call the business order department, place an order for a business line, because business lines take precedence over residential.
And Favela says if that's true, timing is a big factor.
The advance notice that we get on businesses, you have more lead time basically when you're working with a business customer as opposed to a residence customer. You don't start a business overnight.
Tomorrow, in part 2 of the series, we'll look at the popularity of pagers and cellular phones. Mark Sutton, sales manager for Bell Atlantic Mobile, says it's simple. Cell phones are getting more and more popular every day.
It used to be that just the important top execs of companies had cellular phones, whereas now just about anyone and everyone has phones for whatever the reason may be.
Debbie Parsons from Ultra Communications says pager sales are just as hot.
At least 25 pagers a day. Every month. In December, we sold about 900.
But since every pager and mobile phone need their own number, does that mean phone numbers are in short supply? Parsons says that could be if you look at the turnaround time.
Since the area code change, there was a shortage of numbers. They were, in February, I believe it was, they were reissuing numbers, anywhere from 2 weeks to 30 days.
And Sutton says cell phones have seen a similar problem.
Although that leeway period is getting less and less because of the popular demand, the leeway period used to be about 3 months.
Tomorrow, in the final part of the Communication Breakdown, we'll examine how growth affects telecommunications. John Poston from the State Corporation Commission says trouble with U.S. West is really nothing new.
U.S. West has the highest complaint level of any utility in the state of Arizona.
Poston admits U.S. West does service the entire state, but even so, half the complaints is still a lot.
We have a utility that has simply continued to neglect its customers and has failed to meet the requirements that any utility should need to meet, and that is simply providing decent customer service.
But what can the phone company do to predict growth? Jim Mazzacco of the Pima County Planning Department says the county's involvement ends at the review process.
We don't really get that involved with telephone companies as far as their service once the development has been approved.
And George Favela of U.S. West says even with today's growth forecasting methods, it's still hard to keep up.
What we're striving to do is to keep ahead of the curve, if you will, but I think all our infrastructure is pretty well challenged with the type of growth that we have.